Hi there. In this video I want to talk about how to transform your life over 50, because I've been through all of these in the past year and I've picked up lots of tips, lots of information, and I've done loads of research. So I wanted to give you the benefit of the things that I've learned so that if there's something in there that would be useful for you, you can use it as well. I've got lots of tips coming for you, so stay tuned right to the end of the video to make sure that you don't miss any of them. So let's get into today's video. So let's start with the first one, which is the body weight transformation that I've been through. I know that lots of women are perhaps unhappy with the way that they look, the way that they feel, perhaps not happy with the way that they feel health-wise and want to make some changes. I've made a lot of these and I've put together a list of things which have really helped me because I thought they might help you as well. Now, of course, one thing I will say is I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health professional, and I'm not a nutritionist. But these things have worked for me. So please do your own research, speak to your doctor, speak to your health professional. But I just wanted to share some of the things that had really worked for me and why I was doing them. So first of all, why, and to give you some context, some of the results that I've seen. So I've mentioned this before, I'll say very briefly, over a year ago, February last year, I was feeling really unhealthy, really unwell, didn't like the way that I looked. I knew that I needed to make some changes and I knew that I needed to do something about it. I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. I didn't like it when I opened my wardrobe doors and nothing fitted. So yes, of course, I wanted to look better as well. That's something that we all want. There's a lot online at the moment about body positivity and body shaming, and this is not about any of that. I wanted to do this for me, and it's entirely up to you how much you weigh, what size you are, how you feel about it. But for me, I wasn't happy with the way that I was. There also is a little bit of an obesity epidemic in this country, and I think to a certain extent we can say, well, you know, nobody should tell me what size I should be, or you know, nobody should tell me that I'm overweight. But I knew that I was, and I knew that my health was suffering, and I know that diabetes, as an example, is one of the biggest problems that the NHS have got at the moment. My daughter works in the kidney department, and it's one of the biggest problems that they have. So that was something that I wanted to make sure that I wasn't heading in that direction. And with high blood pressure and being diagnosed with high cholesterol as well, I knew that if I didn't do something about it, things were only going to get worse. So that was the reason behind it. So as you'll know, last year I did manage to lose about 2 stone. Just before Christmas, I put some of that back on again. Like many of you, I'm sure I had tried all sorts of things. I did find some things that worked last year. I was eating better and I was doing more exercise. So those things did make a difference. The problem that I think a lot of us have is we do that for a certain amount of time, and as soon as we stop or something changes, the weight goes back on, and we have this constant yo-yoing. And so at the beginning of this year, I really wanted to find something that was going to make a difference, that would be a lifestyle change, that wouldn't be something that, you know, next year I'll be back to being overweight and having to start all over again. And so I did mention, and I have made videos about the fact that I went on a health retreat. Now I know this isn't for everybody because it is an expensive thing to do. Luckily for me, my lovely husband paid for it for me, and I learnt a lot during that retreat. I've also learnt a lot by doing a lot of research myself as well, by reading books, by listening to podcasts from professionals. There was a doctor on the retreat, a GP who works in practice, And so I got some advice from him as well, nutritionists as well, who gave us lots of advice. So I thought I would share some of the things that have worked for me since I went on that retreat, and some of the things that I had found out about previously. So in no particular order, these are the things that I have done which have been a lifestyle change, and they are not a diet. They are not something that I'm going to stop doing. This is how my life is going to be going forward. And I hope you can see, and I know that a lot of you have said that you can see the difference that these things have made to me. But what I will say is the differences that I've seen since last year, since the beginning of last year, I have lost almost 3 stone in weight. A stone is 14 pounds. I have also lost 8 inches from my waist, so quite considerable amount of weight from my waist. And of course, for women especially, where those essential organs are, building up that visceral fat around them can be quite dangerous. So they do say that your waist shouldn't be above 32 inches. Mine was considerably above that and is almost down to that now. So that has been a huge difference for me. The other thing, the high cholesterol, that is coming down. As part of the retreat, you get blood tests about every 8 weeks or so, and a follow-up with a nutritionist. It's a year-long program. After my second set of blood tests, my cholesterol had again come down quite considerably. I didn't have the pre-diabetes HbA1c high marker. That was absolutely fine, but my cholesterol was high. I'd had a body scan, and my body fat compared to my muscle and water and all of that kind of thing was too high. So those were the things that I wanted to make sure that I worked on. So the cholesterol was coming down. Just done another blood test today, so I should get the results of that in the next couple of days. Hopefully I'll see that it has come down even more. And then the other thing which I am so thrilled about is that my blood pressure has also come down. I've been on blood pressure medication for probably 6, maybe 7, 8 years, quite a long time. I thought it was something that I was going to have to do forever. When I saw the GP at the health retreat, he did say to me that it wasn't irreversible. It was something that I should be able to control, and it was something that I should be able to come off the blood pressure medication. I can say that I am absolutely thrilled that I have come off the blood pressure medication. My blood pressure is now normal, and that is in a matter of March, April, May, 3 months. So pretty quick, actually. Obviously, I had already lost some weight, but the changes that I've made since February have really made a huge difference, really sort of compounded on that. So what are they? Let's talk about what they are. So the first one, something which you may have heard about, is called time-restricted eating. Or you may have heard the term intermittent fasting. This isn't really fasting, it's just a different way of eating your meals during the day. So I eat 2 meals a day. I have brunch and I have dinner. I do not have snacks in between my meals, because the reason for that is that every time you eat, it raises your blood sugar. And the whole concept of this is to keep your blood sugar on an even level. So I have 2 meals a day. I have my brunch between sort of 10:30 and 11:30. It just depends what I'm doing, really. And then I have my dinner about 7:30. And then I don't eat anything again until the following day when I have my brunch. And that includes even things like milk and tea and coffee. So when I get up in the morning, I have a cup of black tea. I drink herbal teas as well, but I do like my cup of Earl Grey in the morning. And as I say, I have that black. Other than that, I drink water. I don't really drink alcohol anymore. If I go out for dinner or something like that, I'll have a glass of wine. So I haven't given it up completely, but I don't really drink much alcohol anymore. So I have my 2 meals a day. My brunch consists of, and this is a second change, always every meal has protein in it, and it has a decent amount of protein in it. So for my brunch, I always have 2 eggs, somehow, maybe scrambled, maybe as an omelette. If I have an omelette, I might put cheese in it. I'll have some leaves or some salad with it, so perhaps some rocket or some spinach or something like that. Might put tomatoes with it. I like to put herbs with it to give it a bit more flavour. Dill and tarragon are my 2 favourites, and perhaps chives as well. I sometimes snip up into my scrambled eggs. If I'm having scrambled eggs, I might have some smoked salmon with it on the side as well. I always have avocado as well, because that is a great healthy fat and a natural fat that you can eat. And I'll talk about fat a little bit in a minute. So that will be the first part of my brunch. With that, or after that, I always have a bowl of Greek yogurt, and it is proper Greek yogurt. It's not Greek style yogurt, and the reason for that is that Greek yogurt has more protein in it. So again, I'm loading up on the protein. On top of that, I might have a few blueberries, and I will always have nuts on it as well. So again, more protein. So my brunch consists of quite a bit of protein, some healthy and natural fats, and then I also have a cup of milky coffee, full fat milk in there. I have an espresso machine and I whip up the milk in there as well. So my brunch is the meal that I really look forward to. I thought that by only eating twice a day and not eating until sort of 10:30, 11 in the morning, I would be starving. And there's a couple of reasons why I'm not. And there's also the same reasons why I don't snack, because I don't need to. I do not get hungry between my meals. The reason for that is because I eat protein and fat. And those things keep you full and stop you from feeling hungry. What I don't eat a lot of, and this is the second big change, is I have very low carbohydrate. So I do eat vegetables. I eat lots of vegetables, especially in the evening. I have a big pile of vegetables with my evening meal. But what I have pretty much given up are things like potatoes, pasta, rice and bread. I may go out occasionally for brunch and perhaps have scrambled eggs on sourdough or something like that, but I don't do that at home. I may occasionally have the family for Sunday dinner, and I might then have a roast potato, but again, this is few and far between. I thought that I would miss pasta and rice because we ate quite a lot of that. And in actual fact, one of my friends said to me, oh, I couldn't do this because I couldn't give up pasta and rice. And at the time, when I thought about it previously, the decision for me became quite easy, because I thought, do I want to feel better and feel healthier and change the way that I feel, or do I care more about eating pasta and rice? And actually the decision became quite easy. And to be honest with you, we eat things like curry, and I make cauliflower rice to go with that. Or you can also buy frozen cauliflower rice, so really easy. And I challenge you to taste the difference between normal white rice and cauliflower rice, especially if it's in a dish like that. So I'll make things like curry and I'll have them with cauliflower rice. I make things like chili and I use cauliflower rice. If I want to have a kind of a pasta-y dish, then I might do spiralised courgettes or leek strips instead of the pasta. And again, the taste really doesn't make that much difference. But what does make the difference is that afterwards you don't have all of that stodge laying on your stomach. The reason for cutting down on these starchy carbohydrates, and that includes things like cereals. So I used to have porridge for my breakfast every morning. What I discovered when I was on the retreat is that eating a bowl of porridge with banana cut up on the top, which was my breakfast, is probably equivalent to about 5 teaspoons of sugar, because those starchy carbohydrates turn to sugar and then they're retained as fat in the body. So instead of your body using your stored fat for energy, it just uses this sugar that you're piling into it. So that's why the fat doesn't go, because you're just adding to it. Any that it doesn't use just gets added to. So those have been a couple of really key things that I've done, which are quite different to the way that I used to eat before. So the time restricted eating, not eating for that long period of time overnight, and the reduction in carbohydrates and increasing the amount of protein that I eat, and not eating low fat, eating things that, you know, as I said, like milk is full fat, yogurt is full fat. I use butter when I cook my scrambled eggs. I don't worry about, you know, this thing about cholesterol in eggs. The whole thinking on that has changed, and proven by the point that even though I had high cholesterol, I am eating full fat and my cholesterol has come down. So these things have worked for me. And there's a lot of research behind it and the reasons why they put this into the programme. And as I say, it has worked for me. So other food type or nutrition type changes that I've made. One of the things that you might have read about quite a bit recently or heard about is what's known as UPFs, or ultra processed foods. And so anything that sort of comes in a packet and that has ingredients that, you know, you wouldn't find in your kitchen. They're not things that you would cook with. These things are not good for you, and it's much better if you can to cook from fresh. Now, if that's something which you struggle to do because perhaps you don't have time, inside my Wellness Lounge I've included a whole load of recipes. I've also talked about things like how I prep my vegetables for the week so that I do it once and it's quite quick to bring them out each evening to use. And I've got lots of tips in there, and we'll continue to add lots of tips over the coming months of how I do all of this and how it all works together. So if that's something that you're interested in and you want more of my tips and tricks, then I'll put a link down in the description box to my Wellness Lounge membership. It's got all of this information and much, much more in it. I'm condensing it in this video because I don't want it to be hours long. I thought I'd just give you the highlights and give you some of the ideas that you can investigate a little bit more. That's talking about UPFs. Try and cut those out as much as possible. Try and cook fresh as much as you can. I've also really cut out sugar, and that's another thing about these UPFs, because they do contain almost always a load of sugar. Again, you don't need to add extra sugar to your diet. And I do find now that even occasionally if I go out and I have a pudding, it's really sweet. Or one thing that I do is when I have my dinner in the evening, after dinner, again, I have Greek yogurt. And I'll quite often just chop up 1 square of dark chocolate and mix that in it. And that's great, I love it. That is my little sweet dish after dinner, although I've still got that sort of lovely sourness of the Greek yogurt as well. Then the final thing that I wanted to talk about, I mentioned about alcohol. I have really cut down on the alcohol, just really again because I started to find that even when I had 1 or 2 glasses of wine, I didn't like what it did to me anymore. I would quite often find that my sleep was disturbed. I'd wake up in the night not feeling great. I'd wake up in the morning feeling really dehydrated. And so I decided that I didn't really need alcohol anymore. Yes, if we go out to a party or if we go out for dinner or something like that, I probably will have a glass of wine with my dinner. But I used to have a glass of wine with my dinner every night at home, and I don't do that anymore. I drink water. I drink a lot more water. And one of the things that I have found from the way that I'm eating is that my natural thirst has come back. I never used to get thirsty, but I probably was constantly dehydrated in the past. Now I do get thirsty, and that is great because it reminds me to keep drinking plenty of water, because obviously we know water is good to flush out the system, and it does help you to lose weight as well. So getting my natural thirst back has been really good. So I drink water, I do drink tea and coffee during the day. During my 8-hour eating window, I will have tea and coffee with milk in it. And I do drink herbal teas as well, which I've never done before. I'd never really liked them, but I've got a taste for those as well. So that's the whole sort of nutrition side of what I've done, what I've changed. Then there are a couple of other parts to it as well, which are really important. Obviously there is movement. Now it doesn't have to be going to a gym and pounding yourself to death in a gym for hours and hours. I'm not and have never been a gym buddy. Years ago I used to go and do body pump and body combat, but going in a gym and getting sweaty with a load of other people is not something that I enjoy doing. What I have found that I love to do now is to walk, and I'm going to pop some video in here as I'm talking of part of some of my walks that I do. And I find just getting out there in the morning and walking into the woods, it kind of just calms me. It starts my day so well. So it's not only for my body, it's also for sort of mindset health as well. And this is the bit I love the most. This little bit of woods, which is just beautiful. I come in here and I just feel completely calm, and seeing the light come through the trees, it's just beautiful. It's such a good start to the day. It really starts the day off on the right foot. It's got to the point now, even if it's raining, I pull on my coat, I pull on my waterproof hat, and I get out there and I still enjoy it. And again, that's something I never would have thought I would say. The other thing that I've changed more recently, and which I wasn't doing, was any kind of weight bearing or resistance exercise. And this is something which I've discovered through doing some research and from talking to people, from talking to my nutritionist at the retreat, is really important. As we get older, we do lose muscle, and it's really important to make sure that you maintain that muscle, because muscle does help you burn fat as well. And I did listen to a podcast recently, which I'll link this in the description box because it was fascinating. And it talks about whether perhaps we don't have an obesity problem. What we have is a lack of muscle problem, because people are losing muscle and that is contributing to their poor health. And it talked about how important muscle is for your health. That was fascinating, and I learned quite a lot just from listening to that as well. One of the little tricks that I've started with, which works for me, is when I come downstairs in the morning, I put the kettle on to make my cup of black tea, and I do 20 wall push-ups, I do 20 squats, and I do 20 lunges. And I can do that while the kettle's boiling, especially if I put enough water in it. And then whilst I'm out on my walk, one of the walks that I do has a couple of benches dotted around, and as I go around I do a few tricep dips on there as well, sort of part way around my walk. Easy to add some of these things in without thinking about it. So I hope I'm giving you some tips on how you can make some of these adjustments without them being something that's really huge and difficult to do. Because I know that when I first thought about doing all of this over a year ago, it was like this huge mountain to climb. You know, I knew that I had a lot of weight to lose, and it was a case of where do I start, how do I start? And that sort of comes on to my next point, which is about mindset. As many of you know, I turned 60 last year, but I sort of think about how quickly the last 10 years have got. So time does fly, and so it's really thinking about what do I want at this phase of my life? I am lucky enough to have the luxury of being able to do what I want to do during the days and during the weekends now. So I want to really start enjoying myself and, making the most of my life and trying some new things. And that's another message that I want to get across to you. It's never too late to make these changes. When I think about how I felt a year ago, I would have found it hard to believe that I could feel this good now, that I could have done so much in this short space of time, really, to turn my health around, to make myself feel better and to give myself a sort of new positive outlook on life. And now at this point I'm sort of thinking, okay, what can I do next? I started my YouTube channel in my 50s. What can I do in my 60s? I'm sort of looking for some new ideas and some new adventures to go on. So not only is it thinking about how you can improve the health of your body, but also thinking about how you can improve the health of your mind. I want to do some travelling. I want to do some days out, find some new adventures. So that's something that I'm actively thinking about. And if you've got any great suggestions, please do put them down in the comments. If you've tried something and loved it, then I would love to know. Please share it with me and the rest of the community in case it's something that they might like to try as well. And then the final thing that I would say is this isn't easy. I do appreciate that. For me, there was a point where I thought, this has got to change and I've got to do something about it. And it is that thing about you get to your lowest point and you know that the only way is up, really. And for me, that kind of happened. And once I started, it was a bit like a snowball effect and I managed to keep going. I would say that if you are struggling, just get some support from somebody, talk to somebody about it, tell somebody how you're feeling. And if you can do this with somebody else, if you can buddy up with somebody who can encourage you, maybe for them it's the mindset makeover and for you it's the health or the wellness makeover. But perhaps you can just encourage and help each other. So I hope you found some of these tips useful. And as I said, if you want lots more information and help, it is included in my Wellness Lounge. And of course, there is my Capsule Wardrobe Lounge and Style Lounge as well. So if it's your wardrobe that you want to give a makeover rather than your body or your health, then that's there for you as well. I'll link everything down in the description box. Thank you so much for watching. Please do give this a thumbs up and please share it if there's somebody that you think might need to hear some of this as well. And I will look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.